Hey everyone, you're listening to the second hour of our third episode of Handy at the Shanty, a Las Vegas podcast. I'm still Table James Games. We should keep that one in there.
Leave it.
I'm still
Table James Games.
Table James Games.
That is improved your name so
that has improved it
dramatically.
so much.
Table James Games.
And I am joined by, as you can hear, Adam the Fraud Bauer and Boring Jack. This second hour, we're going to be talking about Jack's trip report. He got in just a few days after I left because he didn't want to see me when I was there. And then we're going to talk a lot about some video poker bars. We're going to talk about some feedback we got on Twitter about places that some of the listeners and or just Adam's followers on Twitter enjoy. So, Jack, when did you go to Vegas?
So I got in the very last day of July, which was a Thursday. And a couple things I like to do before I leave the house on a day for a Vegas trip. I guess one thing that is kind of remarkable is I have on my dresser just a bunch of old, single packages of hand lotion from various Vegas casinos. I've got some from Madara, Bellagio.
I don't know if I want to know where this is going.
Well, so I often like to put on one of those hand lotions in the morning when I'm going to Vegas, because then it just kind of smells like it and reminds you of it. And I did almost text you guys like, hey, I'm breaking out the hand lotion and getting in the mood, but I thought you might take it the wrong way. So I figured I'd save it for the pod. No, the other interesting thing about what I like to do for Vegas is kind of like how James likes to make a more meticulous itinerary of what they're going to do day to day. My packing list is very meticulous. I have a big spreadsheet that in the top section, it has every item I might want to bring with me on a Vegas trip. And then the bottom section, I just copy down the ones that I know I want to bring on this upcoming trip. So that way I don't forget to add anything to the pack list. And then once the list is assembled, I don't forget to bring any of that to Vegas. And it makes it a lot easier because you can kind of construct your packing list from these building blocks you've created for yourself in the week leading up to it. And then that way, at the time I'm like actually locking my door and getting in my car to go to the airport, I don't have to run through a checklist of like, what am I forgetting? Am I going to, I just know I have it all with me. And then it gives you a lot more peace of mind. So I left home around like 3:45, which was just early enough that I'm still kind of like get that little skirting out of work bump without actually having to like put in for any time off. And the flight out was at like 5:30, and I still had plenty of time at the airport. Everything was quick. Like I said, I paid the $160 to be in first class for this flight. There was no pre-departure beverage offered. I didn't want one, but I did want to be offered one because that makes
Delta.
you feel, yeah. Mm. I did have my 3 Woodfords on the plane, and in my traditional fashion, I brought with me syringes filled with old-fashioned ingredients.
Can you talk a little more about that? Because I viewed that photo text that you sent us in a public space and felt not great about it. So what exactly are you doing?
Delta used to serve on board these canned cocktails by the brand Tip Top canned cocktails. And they had kind of a rotating cast. Sometimes it was a margarita, sometimes an espresso martini. But the one that was the most consistent that they would have was an old fashioned. And I actually thought it was pretty good. It wasn't that sweet, which can be a problem with old fashions. And it had like, I don't know, real ingredients in it. It wasn't just like flavored whiskey, like they actually take whiskey and add bitters, blah, blah, blah. An old fashioned is just whiskey, sugar, syrup, and cocktail bitters. And so what I bring with me on the plane is measured quantities of sugar and cocktail bitters that I know I can add to the whiskeys that I get on the plane. And you might ask, Jack, how do you measure out the right amount to add to an airplane bottle's worth of whiskey? And the answer is I bought these like syringes, like 10, 20 milliliter syringes on Amazon. And I use those to be able to quickly dispense the liquid I brought on board in a clandestine manner into my cup before anyone asks me what the fuck I'm doing.
It's not you. I mean, they're literal syringes. Like you could have, like
they're not hypodermic. They're like
I know like, that you do so much prep. Like, why not get like those travel little like TSA compliant? Like you could put your hand lotion.
I was enamored. You could put your hand lotion in the syringe, Adam. I was enamored with these just because like it's already graduated. Like you don't have to. You're measuring it as you're putting it into them, and I don't know it. I don't think it's the correct thing to do, but once I tried it, I was like, I'm obviously doing
You're
this.
definitely on a watch list now.
Does the person who sits next to you ask to move? Like,
No,
I
yeah.
feel like
The
if the
first time
guy
I-
next to me started syringing stuff into his, I'd be like, "Can I please move?"
I am very discreet and no one notices. In fact, the first time I tried this, the woman next to me said, what can I ask, like, what you've been drinking? It smells so good. And I said, oh, I've just been ordering Woodford, but I have to confess that I've been like adding sugar and spices to it, and that's what you're smelling. I didn't show her the
Like
hard
you're
way.
in a trench coat, you open your syringes are in there.
Anyways,
Jesus.
Not even in Vegas yet.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
no, we're still on the plane, and another thing happened on the plane, which is that I got served a meal in first class.
Yeah.
And what I put in for it was the Shake Shack burger.
Mhm.
And I mean, if they're going to do a gimmick like that, you have to try it. I feel like the general advice I hear on Delta is to get the short rib. I think I've had that before. It's fine. I went for the Shake Shack burger. My review is that it was good. The
Oh,
lettuce,
okay,
tomato, and onion were fresher than I thought they would be, and otherwise it was a Shake Shack burger. I mean,
And it's hard not to impress someone 3 syringes deep on a plane. So
I wouldn't say I was impressed, but also I've never been impressed by food on an airplane. So
sure.
it was just as good as grabbing Shake Shack before you get on the plane and then like eating it cold later. It was better than that. So
Okay. Well, all good tips for people on
Yeah,
their
and-
trip out to Vegas.
And
Another
I didn't
good
know this
tip.
was a travel. I didn't know this was a travel podcast, but it
Yeah,
seems like it.
We get
It
hate
seems
mail
like
now.
now, hold on, 3. Like, man, I feel like if I had 3 Woodfords before, like I would just, I'd
Just
be-
sitting
I'd be
down
done.
the whole time.
Yeah,
It's like an ounce and a half, I guess, and it's like a 3-hour flight. I don't know. I mean, compared to like a cocktail that I'm normally getting, like a Manhattan or some other like stiff drink, it's actually not a lot of booze compared to even like an old fashioned you might get on the casino floor. So yeah, while it is like 3 drinks by like the method by which we were taught to count drinks in 9th grade health class, it is not like 3 video poker bar drinks worth, right?
Okay.
all right.
But also, I'm getting into Vegas where I'm going to be landing at like 7 p.m. And so I don't mind being in the Vegas mood by the time I land, right? Like pre-gaming a bit here was the intention. So,
Gotcha.
and so I did land around 6:45, and I stopped at the airport liquor store mostly for a 6-pack of water. And granted, a 6-pack of water there costs about the same as like a 24-pack at the Walgreens, but it's much cheaper than anything you have sitting in your hotel room already.
Mhm.
And I found that I just like wake up feeling much better hydrated if I have like a couple bottles of water on my nightstand.
Do you
And
not
so-
just drink? Do you just not just drink like water from like the tap in the kitchen?
No, and I often do that, but the problem is that the glasses aren't very big. And so like if I'm deciding while I'm like wake up in the middle of the night at like 2:30 in the morning, half hungover, and I'm trying to decide like whether I want to get out of bed to refill this glass or if I just want to try to go back to sleep, going back to sleep usually wins. Whereas if I just have like a bottle of water I can crush on the nightstand,
Yeah.
then it's different.
So let me ask you a question. You're okay with bringing syringes, but like, I don't know, a refillable water bottle, that's just not on the packing list.
It's a good point. And I think usually, yeah, I don't know.
He goes to bed with 42 syringes of water next to him.
Just spitting in his face.
No, it's a good idea. Anyways,
I think this is going to be a running thing where it takes longer for Jack to talk about his trip from leaving his house to getting to the hotel, and then
Yeah,
the rest of it's shorter.
We're literally halfway through the flight, like just with this podcast.
so I get my bag, I get in a cab. There's no line whatsoever for the cabs. And when I get to check-in at Palazzo, there's no line whatsoever at check-in. This is now about 7:30 at night. And I'm literally the only one in line. There's like maybe someone being helped, but I get to just like walk right up to the first available agent there. And so I drop my stuff in the room and I go and meet Duffy and Marilyn at the Palazzo High Limit Bar. And I convinced them to walk on over to Resorts World for a few drinks, and specifically wanted to make sure I did this when I got in so that I could get my July free play because it's the last day of July.
Duffy will walk. Chris will not.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I actually got Duffy to walk a decent distance with me the next morning. But that night at Resorts World,
Woo, woo. Foreshadowing.
The Night Resorts World, I sit down at the high limit bar and I hit 4 of a kind twos on my very first hand. That's like fun and all, but it's like $100, right? Because you don't have any multipliers running. And so it was like a good start, but I didn't really get that much traction that night. I think I ultimately ended up down about $400. But I got Duffy in on one of my, a cocktail I quite like called the Clover Club. And it's not too dissimilar from the raspberry lemon drops he drinks, but maybe a little more sophisticated. It's a kind of like a sour fizz made with egg white that foams it up. And so it's gin, raspberry liqueur, lemon juice, and egg white.
And that's on their cocktail menu, isn't it?
And not to my knowledge.
Oh, it's not? Oh, I thought it was.
No, I don't believe so. But
well, that's my participation for this show.
I did order it from one bartender who said they didn't think they had the stuff to make it. So and it's a little less cloyingly sweet than a lemon drop. And he actually liked it. So I considered that a win. But then we got razzed by a guy next to us who was drinking Jameson and water, of all things. And he was like, "Oh, what are you ladies having over there?" And I was like, "All right, buddy, you can enjoy your Jameson and water." But I made good on my plans to leave there around 10 p.m. and call it an early night. So
you are good about that. I'll say that. You're really good about calling it early, doing your thing and getting back and having a sad boy bath.
It really depends on my company, not for the bath, but for whether I find it prudent to leave when I said I would.
I don't know. I feel like the December trip, I remember there was that time where you're like, I'm going to bed. And then the next morning you're like, yeah, I went to the sportsbook bar at Cosmo till like 4 a.m.
It's not true.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But so Friday I woke up at 5 a.m. sharp and was just awake. One downside about being in Vegas, not on my own, like I've done trip reports before where I have like notes and stuff, and it's usually because I was there solo and I get to like take notes throughout the day. As a result of trying to be social, I am often not on my phone when I'm around other people. And so I just like don't have notes for like what I did in this stuff. But the plus side is there's people I was texting and I can cobble together what I did from these various text conversations. And so I know I woke up at 5.
Hold on. So you're not on your phone, but you're texting.
But I'm texting when I'm not near the other people.
Oh, okay.
And then, but I have to cobble together what I did from the texts versus me sitting down at the bar and being like, sat down at the bar at 5. I just have a text from me to Duffy saying I'm on my way down or whatever, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
Anyways, I get to the cage to take out a marker from Palazzo because I hadn't gambled there at all the previous night. And the woman at the cage, you could tell that not only was she aware that I was just waking up as opposed to up the whole night, but I think I might have been the first person she talked to that morning that hadn't been up the whole night thus far, because you could tell it was kind of refreshing for her to talk to someone that's like already in the realm of the living. Mm-hmm. And the guy, I went to the bar just outside the high limit room, Bar Luca at Palazzo, because the high limit bar looked kind of deserted. There was like one woman playing there and no one behind the bar. And I was just kind of like, eh. So I went out to Bar Luca, and it does have now, it's somewhat recently, they have all the new curved screen bar tops on it. Okay. And half of them are the single line Game Kings, and the other half are the Superstar Poker, which means it kind of has all the games that you get to select from down the left-hand side. And it's not hard to distinguish which are which because it's two completely different halves of the bar. The bar with your back to the high limit room facing the rest of the casino, that's all the single line, and the other side of the bar is the other machines. And,
that's good to know. I didn't know that because we were only on the side that had all the games. We were looking into the high limit room, so that's good to know. That's a good tip, Mac.
And I got some other good tips from the graveyard shift bartender there, Philip. He was also enthused to talk to someone who wasn't still awake from the night before. And he confided in me. He was like, I'm trying to get these people over here to go to sleep. Like, they need to go to bed. They shouldn't be here. And I was like, how are you doing that? He's like, oh, just ignoring them until they go away. And so he was happy to have someone over that he could talk to and not make it look like he was, shirking his duties. One other tidbit he gave me, and it's not really a surprise, but it's company policy there to not warn people of the price of the drink they order until you've poured the drink and are asking for them to pay for it. Right. So if you said, can I have 3 Corona Lights? He's not going to say that's going to be $60 or whatever absurd price it is. He's just going to go get them, crack them open, hand them to you, and then say that'll be $68.50 or whatever it is. And it's not that much at that bar in this specific scenario, but he was talking about how they just increased the prices at the point of sale there. And a lot of people kind of like tend to balk at the price, but he's like, hey, we're not allowed to tell you it until we're ringing you up unless you ask, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if I ask, like, hey, how much is this? Like,
Oh, they'll tell you,
have
yeah,
to
but they're not going to warn you. They're not going to
Oh, no.
proactively.
Yeah,
and
that's
I
pretty
wish they
standard
would.
practice.
Well, yeah, but like it does remind me of a lot of other things that are annoying about Vegas, such as the fact that all the sundry shops have stopped displaying prices for anything. You can't walk into a convenience store at a casino and see a price for anything anymore. You just have to take it up to the counter, and they're just counting on you not putting it back, which I don't know. I think is kind of shitty. And so to hear that they're explicitly doing that at the bar is just kind of like, it's more of the same. But I agree that that's most places. So I played a bit there with Duffy. We eventually did move over to the high limit room, and I kind of set myself a hard out of 8 a.m. to go for a walk because I knew I wanted to go for a long walk kind of first thing in the morning. And then that Saturday, the second day I'm in town, I could slack off a little more. But I got Duffy to join with me all the way down to Mandalay Bay. And so we made it from Palazzo to Mandalay Bay, mostly via the east side of the strip. So first thing we did was kind of go through Harrah's, the Link, Flamingo, and man, do I not like those properties. I mean, I think in addition to just being like Caesars and having that Caesars air about them, whatever the je ne sais quoi is that I don't like about Caesars, they also just don't feel particularly Vegas-y. Like they feel like a locals casino or something kind of cobbled together out of spare parts.
They feel worse than a locals. Like that's being nice to them because they just have no energy, like no vibe to them whatsoever. It's so odd.
And the casino floors are really disjointed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a soft spot for the IP, for the Imperial Palace, as like one of the places that I went to when I first went out there. And now I just feel like Link is just this bland nothing. I'd rather it be a really crappy old Vegas spot than what they made it.
Yep. And so we continued down along that east side of the street. And once we got to that part between Planet Hollywood and MGM Grand, I realized like not only is there new stuff there that I hadn't seen before, but I just like never walk that part of the strip. It might have been my first time in my life walking between Planet Hollywood and MGM Grand on that side of the street because it's just like all retail.
Yeah. There's like nothing there that's really that compelling.
Yeah. So on the way back from Mandalay Bay, so walked down to Mandalay Bay, put Duffy in a cab and sent him back to Palazzo. I walked from there all the way up to Fontainebleau on the other side of this. I walked up the other side of the street all the way up to Circus Circus, then crossed over to Fontainebleau, and from there walked back to Palazzo. So I managed to get about 9 miles in on that walk and get back in time for lunch.
I would have complained the entire time.
Duffy wanted to peel off a bit earlier, and I said, no, you at least have to make it to Mandalay Bay because that's at least worth bragging, right? Anywhere shorter, and it's not as impressive. So no, it was cool to get to chat with him for a bit. And I then immediately, as soon as I bid him adieu, turned around and put on the latest episode of his podcast. So I had him with me in spirit for the next bit of a walk. And I got to play a lot with Duffy on this trip. I think he's a guy that really likes to just say dumb shit that amuses himself. And I'm also like that. And so in that sense, we're kind of kindred spirits. And I think we got a kick out of each other playing a lot of video poker together on this trip. But I get back to Venetian and get a shower in just in time to join my friend Brian for lunch at Estiatorio Milos at the time they open, which is 11:30. And this place, like you said, just do the Peter Luger prefix in the last show. Just do the Milos prefix. It's a $45 lunch. There's a couple upcharges associated with some of their, higher end menu items, but you can get a very nice, appetizer, entree, and dessert for $45. And it comes with free bread with olive oil and freshly clipped oregano, which Brian said was a delight. And I think I agree with that. So I spent an extra $10 for the tuna crudo appetizer and an extra $15 for the lamb chops for lunch. And I say I spent this. Brian ended up paying for the whole lunch, and with the assumption that he would be able to get a bunch of stuff comped on the back end because he's a bigger player than I am. And so I realized on the flight home as I was writing up these notes, like I really should have offered to pay for the tip because he's not going to get that comped off. But no, instead he just paid for my lunch and the tip for me. So thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
At this point, I could really use a nap, right? Because I just went for a long walk. Now I'm finally full of food. But I know instead I'd prefer to just start drinking and gambling. So that's what I did. We go to the.
Do you still have your syringes at this point? Do you carry them around too, just in case you can't get a good cocktail?
No, the syringes, I actually, I just disposed of them. I could have taken them home and washed them, I guess, but I buy them pretty cheap.
He pours them into other people's drinks. It's like the opposite of roofing people. He's like, I'm making this better for you. This experience.
The guy's Jameson and water.
Yeah,
I thought was looking really lacking the night
you
before.
deserve this.
So yeah, it was. I got an Aperol Spritz. I got an aviation cocktail from the bartender Jen at the Palazzo High Limit Bar, and she seemed really flustered when she first got into the bar. And we were like, "Oh no, like if she's in a bad mood, this might not be super fun." But then she ended up kind of chippering up, and she was the one thing I really appreciated. She was genuinely interested in how I liked this aviation that she had prepared me. She's like, "Oh, it's not too like sweet, or the lemon juice isn't like too bitter." Like I've never like complained about a drink in my life. Like as Adam knows, I will drink anything.
Mhm.
And so, but I did really appreciate the drink and her attitude towards it. But at this point, I've really gotten no hits to speak of. I think in the morning session, I lost about like $900 at the Palazzo High Limit Bar and Bar Luca combined. I've probably lost another 500-600 in this after lunch session. And we decided it's time to go back to Resorts World so I can see my favorite day shift crew over there. I did get Duffy to come by again. And we got to play there, and we kind of got stuck at that bar. So like we were planning on just playing for a bit and then coming back with time to spare, maybe get some craps in before this Yardbird dinner. We played like up until the minute we had to leave to make it back to Yardbird on time. And so, but I did get one good hit. I got $1,000 four of a kind, but it was like one of those ones that as soon as you get it, you don't get another single hit and you just lose it all back right away.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there being like, well, what was the point of hitting that? And then you kind of like smack yourself upside the head and say, well, you idiot, you'd be down 1,000 right now if you hadn't hit that, right? That was the point. So yeah, at this point, Resorts World kind of was a push. Duffy and I have a good time there. We get to Yardbird just in time to meet up with Eric and Stacy and Marilyn and Tim from The Better Life, who we're seeing for the first time. And we have to wait a bit to get seated, and we kind of have to crowd 6 people around what's kind of a 4-person table / booth. But we immediately don't care because we are treated to like the best server that any of us have ever had in Vegas. And as I said that to the group at one point, and Eric was like, not in Vegas, like anywhere. Like he was adamant that he was perhaps the best server he had ever had. And none of us could disagree. So
now what makes this server the best server ever?
Right. And it was kind of hard to describe, but I think part of it was that he knew exactly what to say at each of the right moments. Like if he was offering information unprompted, it was because it was something that we needed to know exactly at that moment. And
so kind of like this podcast is what you're saying.
I was going to say, get him on the show.
Exactly. Yeah. So not only was he like, not only did he have good foresight for things like that, but also when we did ask questions about the menu, he interpreted the questions well. You know, like a good teacher knows not only what you're asking, but why you're asking it. He was looking forward in those same sorts of ways. And then he also somehow decided that it was someone's birthday at the table, and Stacy was the closest, so she got stuck as the birthday girl. And he was like rattling off the options that the table can get when it's someone's birthday. He's like, don't worry about it, you don't pick one, I'll pick one for you, it's going to be great. And like just at every juncture he was anticipating what our next whim would be and then serving it. And so I don't know, he also had a very charming accent. He was very good looking. And like both Marilyn and Tim were like trying to fight over who was going to go home with him. I don't know. It was, we couldn't stop gushing over this guy.
That's a good group too. That's a good group to have. That's a fun dinner, I imagine.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, part of it was a bit sullied in that we were kind of talking about Mark's passing and kind of reminiscing about him and stuff of that nature. And so it was a bit somber. In fact, we kind of got into that towards the end of the meal after Stacy had gotten up to use the restroom, and we had already like settled the check at this point. So she's like, I'll just meet you guys out there. And we just stayed at the table for another like 25 minutes. And she had to come back being like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? And so we eventually got back out onto the casino floor at her prompting. But as for the food, a lot of us got either the fried chicken, the chicken and waffles, or the Nashville hot chicken, which our server was nice enough to warn us is not very hot. And indeed it wasn't.
Did you get any of the, like, when they came to us, they're like, "Oh, this is good for two people." So they're very like upfront of, two people could split this. So yeah, it's 40 whatever dollars, but it's good for two people.
No, I don't think we got a lot of that, but
Okay.
most of us ate most of like the half chicken that we got. So I don't
Oh,
think we
okay.
actually put a lot to waste there. Kind of hard to tell
Mm,
when everything's still on the bone like that, but yeah, I think
yeah.
we did pretty good work. We got out of
Now,
there
did
for
you find? Sorry, did you find that place extremely dark? Like,
no,
take your cell phone out,
no.
dark.
But
Okay,
we were seated
that's what we did.
near like a window to the
Mm,
row there, to the like hallway, I guess. So
okay. I forgot to mention that when we were there, we were sitting like, it seemed like right dead middle of the restaurant, and I got in there and I was like, okay, like I am 39 years old and I'm about to pull out my cell phone flashlight to read this menu.
So at this point, we go the high limit room completely packed. There's maybe room for one, and we had a group of like five that were looking to play, and so we ended up kind of just slowly taking over a section of Bar Luca where there were two seats available, and then when a third became available, we'd snipe it and kind of jockey people around like that. And I think I played there until 11 p.m. when Duffy kind of like pulled me out of my stupor. He was like, "It's 11. I'm going to bed," and I was like, "Thank you. I needed that." Because I would have just sat here forever. They were playing like all the 80s music I like, kind of like more 80s pop rock. Like I was singing along to Modern Love by David Bowie and Wild Wild Life by the Talking Heads. And so I was in a good headspace, alcohol wise and music wise. And I wasn't really winning anything, but I was at least holding my own at this point. I think at this point on the night, I was probably about down 2,000 overall on the trip, but only 700 of that 2,000 in losses happened after that morning's walk. So in all my recent memory, it's like, oh, I'm doing fine. This is great.
Yeah, yeah.
But Duffy managed to knock some sense into me and get me to go to bed at a reasonable hour.
So, different opinion on that bar then, huh? All right.
It's got the same pay tables at Ultimate X that the High Limit Bar does. And
Mm.
it's got, I think they comp drinks up to $18, but the bartender implied that covers most cocktails you would order with, whatever well spirits they have. So there was nothing about it that was distasteful. And the music's loud. There's just a lot of people having a good time there. Like obviously kind of like the Chandelier Bar, it gets a little of the like Vegas club crowd who might be annoying at times, but sometimes they're a delight and sometimes they're good people watching and stuff like that. So I think the secludedness of the Palazzo High Limit Bar has gotten to me a little, where it's just I can't just be there that long without feeling like I'm missing out on stuff going on around me.
I'll let me talk on that too. I agree, and for some reason, I felt like this both at the Chandelier Bar at times when there's not in the morning when there's not a lot going on, and at that High Limit Bar is I'll start playing faster because there's like nothing else to distract me because I'm just kind of looking at just like a bar. Whereas if I am at one of those kind of center bars, I can, if I I lose 4 or 5, 20 hands in a row, I can like kind of look around and slow myself down a little bit.
That's a good point.
Saturday morning, I can spare you the Bouchon talk. I think I leave the room about
there it is.
I think I leave the room about 5:45 in the morning and play a bit at Bar Luca, a bit at the High Limit Room, same sort of thing as the previous morning. My buddy Brian comes and joins me at 8 a.m. We do Bouchon. I guess the only thing I'll say about Bouchon that I didn't plug on the last trip is it's also very fast. Like you will get in and out of there very quickly. We didn't even sit at the bar. We got seated at a table and we were out of there in probably like 50 minutes from seating to leaving. So
let's talk Bouchon.
So after that, I go down to the High Limit Bar and it's kind of filled up. There's nowhere for me to sit. And so I just kind of loiter around, do the crossword for a bit while I wait for Duffy and Marilyn to finish up the session that they're on. And we head off to the Venetian side to play some craps. We stop by the Pai Gow table, tap my buddy Brian on the shoulder and say, "Hey, Venetian side craps, come join us." And he vows to come do that. And we get over there and there's an empty $15 table there, which is great because I had continued losing this morning at video poker. So I'm ready to low roll a bit. And so I stuck to doing only $15 base bets with only $25 in odds, or 30 if I needed to make it an even number. But I stuck to a pretty low amount of odds and just $15 bets. even though some of the rolls went really well, I didn't press it beyond that at any point, because once it started going good, I was like, well, if I haven't pressed it yet, if I start now, I'm just going to feel like an idiot if something happens. So I actually just flat bet the whole time. And the first 3 rolls we did were the worst. I think Duffy set up all 3 of my numbers and then 7'd out. And then I got the dice. And so I punished him right back with a 0.7 out, which wrecks his across strategy.
Yeah.
And then he got the dice and immediately 0.7 out again. And at this point, we're like, okay, Marilyn, you have to roll. You have to get us. Because she was just she wasn't playing at the table. She was hanging out with us. And we're like, we need to get you in to mix things up. And after she had made her first 3 points, I was like, Marilyn, you only need 1 more before we get to an average of 1 point made per shooter. So we have to get you this. And lo and behold, she does get it, and just kind of brings us out of that funk with a nice long roll. At this point, my buddy Brian shows up to the table, and he's playing. They moved it to 25 minimum as soon as me and Duffy bought in, right? So we're in at 15, but they know once there's anyone at the table, they can move it up to 25 and it'll still attract people. But my buddy Brian comes over and he's playing $25 come bets with full odds. And on certain shooters, he's just doing a continuous come where he never stops betting the come bet to like get fully leveraged up.
Stop it, James.
I'm not doing anything.
Okay. You'll catch it when you edit.
No, the continuous come, I'm aware. Okay. It's a lot better than the continuous don't come that Tim Lawson practices. But
yeah.
No, you have to go to a doctor for that, I think, after 4 hours.
I wonder how much of this is going to be in. So here's a question for you guys. There's this adage in poker, which is like, don't play the hand, play the player. Meaning like it doesn't matter exactly which cards you're holding if you're familiar enough with your opponent's tendencies and how they play and what they might be holding. Do you ever feel like that at a craps table? Like certain shooters just give you a good vibe and you feel compelled to put more money on them, or vice versa?
Absolutely not.
Oh, I thought you were going to say absolutely. So I was about to agree with you, but you go ahead.
No, I don't know. I'm a very math and statistics. Like I know it does not matter. So I do not. When I go up to a table, I make my decision early. What is the strategy I'm going to play? And then I stick with that the entire time, or I leave the table. Because what the worst feeling for me is if I change strategy and then it ends up going against me. Like I hate it. So that's why I'll be like, okay, I'm only going to do come bets at this thing, or I'm going to only play across, or I'm going to, even numbers do this, odd numbers do that. And I just stick to it. I'm never like, oh, the cowboy hat down there has been shooting well. No, come on, Jack.
No hat slander on this, please.
For Brian, it's more about the vibes. Like if he thinks he would like the shooter, then he'll tend to he'll tend to not want to fade them and he'll tend to want to go along with them. But if the shooter just kind of seems like a loser for some reason, or is annoying, or is making bets in a way that's unpleasant, he's like, yeah, I almost went to the don't on that fucking guy. What do you think, Adam?
I won't play the don't, but I don't even know if I'll back off, but I guess I will. Like I won't be as aggressive. Like I'm definitely a vibes person. I'm like a little bit of a chameleon though too. Like what other people are playing, like if that's kind of what the table's going with, like I'll play that style and I'll have some fun with it because I like doing that. But I'm with him. I get where that pettiness comes from. I feel it just in my bones.
Yeah. So after Maryland gets us out of the gutter and gets us back on track, I think all the rolls at that point we have are decent, and each one of us, me, Josh, Brian, has like one killer roll that goes on for like way longer than it should. And on mine, I know I rolled just a ton of 4s. And so not to brag about the way Duffy was betting, but I'm using this to show how many 4s I rolled throughout the course of this. He was starting and he was adamant that he was never going to start his bets at more than $50 for each bet. So he was only going to pay $260, $270 across instead of like the black chip action he used to be better known for. And so he started his 4 at $50. And I know that it hit at 50, 100, 200, 300. And then he pushed it up to 500. And I know I hit it at 5 and he pushed to 8. So that was the 5th 4 I made. And then I hit it at $800 for him and he bumped it up to 1,000. And then I hit it at 1,000 for him and he bumped it up to 1,500 before I 7'd out. So I managed to get 7 4s in before 7'ing out. And I wasn't even on all of them because it was my 3rd number. And so half the time I was going up on it and half the time I was winning it. And so I didn't even profit from the number of fours I made. I think I hit the small, and I hit a fair number of other stuff in that interim. But it's always fun to just have that killer roll that makes people just a ton of money, because not necessarily because you feel like you're the one doing it, but because it sucks so much when you're the one that loses people the money for the same reason.
I'll tell you what, Jack, I've been thinking about craps a lot because I love playing craps. And I was like, well, when am I really excited? And it is when I am buying the 4 and 10 and someone hits it 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and you're doubling it because you're able to double your bet and collect. Like, to me, that the most fun I can remember at tables is like starting at 25 and getting up to 800 or whatever. Like, I don't know why. Like, if I'm ever playing 6 and 8 and I hit a lot of those, it's not the same feeling for me. Even if I get that one up high, like, it's not the same feeling as like, yeah, the 4.
Well,
and, like,
I mean,
screaming
the
it.
4
I wish I was there.
much harder to hit, right? So those, if you press just as aggressively, you're going to actually just make a ton more on it as well. But yeah, no. So that was absolutely a blast. It does get to the point during the roll where you don't think there's any 7s left in the dice. Like, you don't foresee it being possible. Like, you've already rolled like 10, 15 rolls. You're just like, well, this is like literally nothing could go wrong. You're actually, I don't know, you trick yourself into thinking that it's not going to happen. Eventually it does. But even at the points where I was like, oh, geez, this is a long roll, it still went on longer. So that, I don't know, that was a blast. I won with my low rolling strategy and not increasing my bet at any point. I think I won like $450, which was great because the first 3 shooters, I was like nearly down that amount. So that was nice to get a good winning session in, because basically the entire trip had been losing in each session up to this point.
And that's talking crap.
And that's continuous come.
At about 11:30 in the morning, it's time for Marilyn to catch her flight home. But Josh moved his flight later in the day, mostly to accommodate me. And so I continued to insist on him accommodating me, and we head back over to Resorts World. But I think he's quite enamored with this bar. I think I've been doing a good job evangelizing for it. But we have a good time having some, bespoke drinks and shooting the shit with Chris and Matt and the bar back Polly there. So those are some of my favorite guys to hang out with. And one of the things I really like about that bar is the bartender's always just having a good time. They're always just hanging out and chatting and giving each other shit. Whereas at the Palazzo High Limit Bar, there's just one person. And if they don't want to talk to you, they kind of just have to go like loiter in the corner.
Yeah, it feels like that lonely bartender's is always like, polishing the glassware. You know what I mean? Just like slowly alone until they get a request.
Yeah. And so that's one of the nice things about the Resorts World High Limit is not only that you feel more engaged with the bartenders, but you also just feel more connected to the rest of the casino. Like, the high limit room there is a little less high limit, so it's livelier. And the rest of the casino's right there. So I'll spare you the exact details of these drinks I got. But at some point, Duffy and my buddy Brian have to leave right before 2 p.m. But I've been texting with Tim Lawson and convinced him to come join, as I always need more converts for this bar. Right before he shows up, I quickly hit another one of those serendipitous $1,000 quads, like a 4-4s on a 10x sort of thing. And this was right before I'm about to add more money to the machine. Like, I had just dipped below the last $100 mark. And this is the same $1,000 buy-in I put in Thursday night when I got in. So I'm down over 900 at Resorts World, plus the Venetian losses I've suffered up to this point. So that was a really welcome $1,000 hit. And unlike in the past, it stuck around. Like, I hovered at that newfound $1,100 mark for like the next 2 hours. So Tim comes in and immediately starts hitting up the bartenders for what's the fanciest like Whistle Pig rye he can order. I think he got both a 15-year and an 18-year before he decided to go check out the Baccarat conditions. And he finds a $50 squeeze game there with no one sitting at it. And he's well, this is my calling, right? And so as he's heading off, he orders one more drink from the bartender. Bartender says, yeah, we'll have the waitress bring it over. One of Chris's world famous Vieux Carré cocktails. Maybe some 30 minutes later, while I've still been at the video poker bar this whole time, I get a text from Tim. Hey, can you send another one over? And so I tell Tim, all right, guy at the Baccarat table wants another Vieux Carré. And I think that's the first order he's ever fulfilled via text like that. So
that's funny.
At some point when I've got my drink in hand, I head over to Tim's table where he's still playing alone, and I see him betting $50, and I buy in for 100 just to play one hand and know that I get to drive because I'm betting bigger than him. And he was like, "You wanted to drive. You could have just bet 50 and I would have let you face the cards." Like,
No, it's a principle.
I was like, yeah, no, it's way funnier if I steal it from you, right?
Mhm.
And we got a natural 8 winner for the bank that we were both on. And so
Nice.
I leave. He had been tipping $1 on every hand for the dealers. So shout out to Tim for that. I just took $5 out of the stack of profits and left it on his bet for them. And I later learned that it did win. So that was nice.
Nice.
So yeah, that did win. So about like 3.5 hours later, after that $1,000 hit I got, I'm still like roughly right where I was. But I managed to end the session on a high note with just like a couple killer back-to-back hits. I think I hit 4 10s on a 10 times. And I maintain that's good luck. If you're drawing at 3 10s and the multiplier is at 10 times, you're probably going to hit it, right? It's 10s on 10.
Of course.
So,
Of course.
and then I got like another couple other small hits that just like blasted me up $1,000 on my last like 10 minutes there. So given that I have to cash out and head to Pisces, this was originally $1,000 buy-in at Resorts World Thursday night is now like a $2,100 ticket. Plus I still have like $90 in profit from the Baccarat. So I quick cash all that out and hoof it over to Pisces, where I have a 5:30 reservation with my buddy Brian.
And so how was Pisces? Like, was it all you dreamed of?
I thought the food was great. I was a little bacala at this point, but we split everything we got. We got a caviar bump. Can I not say that?
No, you can say whatever you want.
That was an honor of Tim.
Whenever you pull
It's
up,
an honor of
whenever
Vito.
you pull up a bunch of different words in an episode, I just love it.
That's a Tim-ism that is actually a cousin Vito-ism. But yeah, I got a little bacala. We got this caviar bump appetizer, and we were wondering how many it comes with, and they were like, "It's 3." And we were like, "All right, that's." They were like, "How much does this other one come with?" Also 3. So we just added a 4th to it, and they just basically added on a third of the price for it. So we each got a couple like caviar bumps with some raw salmon inside a little, and then it was served on top of like a little air bread with like some creme fraiche inside, and so that was really pleasant. We then also had a yellowtail crudo appetizer, which was very light and refreshing and citrusy. And then for the mains, we got a black truffle tagliatelle pasta, and we split the whole Dover sole. And I think I was I was more impressed with these 2 main courses than Brian was. I think Brian preferred the appetizers. I think I might have been more impressed with the mains because I was just like really hungry, and they were just like a lot more substantive. But I thought it was all really good.
Yeah, I haven't heard a bad thing from anyone that's gone to Pisces.
Yeah, I would be very happy to go back there. Everything was expensive, but like not more so than other Vegas restaurants that serve similar like quality fish and stuff like that. Yeah, the thing I was that I clarified with the waiter before we ordered, the whole Dover sole that we got comes filleted, so you don't have to pick around the like bones or enjoy the delicacy of the eyeball or have it looking back at you or those types of things that I tend to not actually like. Brian did manage to get me back for his generosity here, where we flipped a coin for who's paying for dinner, and I lost that one. I won the flip that decided how we were going to randomize who pays for dinner, because he didn't like my method of randomization. But I won that, and then immediately lost on the way that I had planned on randomizing.
Well, you can't win 2 flips in a row.
No.
I think he got one over on me there. After dinner, I agreed to join him for some ultimate Texas Hold'em, which is
table games Jack.
Yeah, a table game that you basically play. You play Texas Hold'em against the dealer with some specific rules about when you can up your bet. I have never won at that game, and this was no exception. But he got me in at a $50 table. He was like, "I'm going to be betting blacks. Is it cool if he plays 25?" And the pit boss and the dealer were both just like, "Yeah." So,
nice.
And I think they had seen him from earlier, so it's not like he was just kind of a rando. I think I lost the most of the $500 I bought in with. But I was kind of fresh off that quick $1,000 rebound at Resorts World. I think even losing here at this Ultimate Texas Hold'em session, I'm probably only down about 1,000 on the trip at this point. And so I head over to Bar Luca for some more video poker. And at this point, it's just me. And so I kind of have the seat at the corner near where everyone comes up to order. But that doesn't really bother me because there kind of is a big spot there for it. And I have a monster session just playing alone at this bar here. I started on my very third hand with a 12x four of a kind, like four of a kind sixes for $750, and then like it only got better from there. Within less than an hour, I went from $1,000 in the machine that I had put in to 3,200, and it was all just medium-sized four of a kind hits. You know, $180 here, $400 there. Full house on full house action for the fun Ultimate X almost quad kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just a blast. It was just kind of a bummer that this was the one session of the trip that I had no one to share it with. Like, I don't think I played video poker alone until this exact point, other than like a few minutes here and there. And so I ran that 3,200 down to 3,000, which was like a perfect round number because that's the amount I owed Palazzo in outstanding markers at that time.
Nice. It's always such a mix of emotions, because I am extremely happy when I get those texts from y'all on winning, but also extremely pissed off and jealous. I'm like, oh, really? You can actually win at this? Oh, man.
Lord, I see what you've done for others, and I want that done for me. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, what an asshole. But also, congratulations. That's freaking awesome. I think we all get that as gamblers. We're just like, I'm so glad my friend won, but like if I was there, it would have been way better.
I feel like it also depends on how well they're doing. Like if they get 2 big hits, you're like, yeah, right at it. And if they get 4 big hits, you're like, fuck you. Like, and so at this point, I owe Palazzo no money and have that extra cash from Resorts World on top of my original buy-in. And so I kind of just low play a bit the rest of the trip. Well, I guess I say that. I get Brian to play some dice with me, and I'm playing my usual $25 base bets with $50 odds, right? And I got some shit for that being kind of a conservative strategy compared to the way Crap Vegas plays. If you're betting $225 in total action and the 3 bets are each individually not likely to win, and the losses are all correlated in that if you lose one, you're going to lose all 3 of them, but the wins are not correlated, that's not actually a very conservative way to gamble, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
So the fact, I think I only lost like $125 despite the table being pretty cold playing that strategy. And then I got my chocolate covered pretzels and went to bed. And I probably didn't make it to bed until about after midnight, just after midnight, because I didn't have Duffy in my ear being a good influence, which I don't think anyone's ever called him that before.
Yeah. And so that wraps up your trip, right? Because you leave early in the morning the next day?
Yeah, the very last thing I did was play at the Game King side of Bar Luca, where it has only the single line video poker. And I just ran $20 through while I got like a Red Bull in the morning because I wanted to get some caffeine before taking a quick walk around and getting some hangover cure Grand Lux. The thing, and this will bring us into Adam's question about like, what's your favorite like next tier video poker bar to play at? The single line games there at Bar Luca at Palazzo all have decent pay tables. And by decent, I mean the ones that you would have to play dollars to get at MGM.
Oh.
So double bonus is 9.5.
Oh, okay.
And both bonus deluxe and jacks are better are 8.5. And then the rarity, a game that I think should be more popular, just regular old double bonus poker, even pays 5 times for the straight instead of 4 times. So you get 9, 6, 5 double bonus. And so all of those, a lot of those are only like one tick off the 99% version of it, right? And like I said, that's often what I'm playing if I'm playing dollars at a MGM bar. The only thing they don't have is they don't have 7.5 bonus at dollars. That would be maybe a bridge a bit too far for them. But the 9.65 double bonus is pretty similar, all things considered. So that's why this definitely made my list of kind of next tier video poker bars, because you can play for quarters and get decent pay tables, or you can go to the other side of the bar and play all the gimmicky machines that we love.
Are there two, like you said, it's half and half. So are there 2 side by side where one is like single and the other one has all the games, or is there a space?
So the part that I elided was that there's about 4 machines on the like top of the U. Like the bar is kind of like a horseshoe shape. Yep. And at the top of the horseshoe, there's like 2 really old machines, but they are the Ultimate X kind, but they're like the 15 years old model. And then there's 2 aristocrat bar top slot machines that have like the buffalo and stuff on them that I think are just an abomination. Like, If I see someone
Okay.
playing video poker at one of those, it's like what AI thinks video poker looks like. It's just, it's the like seeing the art that isn't that shitty like 80s blue background with the bold text on it. I don't know. It really throws me for a loop.
Okay.
But yeah, so those 4 machines there separate the bar into 2 clean halves, basically.
All right. And so you're putting that bar, what's it called?
Luca.
Luca, or you're
What the
you're
fuck
putting
is it
that
called?
in your you're putting that in your second tier.
I was
All
very
right.
happy to
All
play
right.
there. It's a great backup bar if the high limit bar is full or if it's not your vibe.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
I'll take it back. I'll give it another
It
chance.
smells like shit. You're gonna
Maybe
get
that's
bad
what it was.
service, but it's home.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and I think
I never had any. I didn't have a single bad thing to say about it.
I mean, so like people asked me when I put the question out, we had alluded to it in the previous episode. Like, the tier rankings we're talking about is like S tier, and like for us, that's the top tier, and that's like Shandy's up there. Obviously, Palazzo High Limit's up there. I would put High Limit at Resorts World in there.
I would put
well.
the center bar at Resorts World in
Crystal
there.
Bar.
Yeah, I think their comps are still generous enough that it makes the list.
Yeah. The nice thing when I asked this question is that I didn't have a bunch of Vegas weirdos being like, well, what does that mean? Because this, they have like they just go by one rule. They have one thing that they want where it's like, it has to be the best odds that you can get. It has to be the best paid table. It's like, well, you got to go to this neighborhood bar that, we got none of that. Like people just knew what the assignment was, which is really refreshing for Vegas Twitter, I will say. Did you guys look at any of the responses at all?
I did page through them quite a bit. I assumed you would be collating them and stuff, compiling.
I didn't know collating or compiling. I mean, I have it up here in the memory bank, but like one that came up quite a bit was the Center Park MGM, which I was not expecting, but I think I understand.
I really like the ambiance there.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's got a lot of TVs, so they always have like the game on, and
like Michael Mina.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's always too crowded often. To me, it can't be the backup bar because you can't get a seat there.
Yeah, so I do like it. Yeah, it's like a high traffic area, so good for people watching. It's circular, which I don't know why I kind of like that for some reason, as opposed to like a horseshoe or a U-shaped. I don't know why I like that, but I do.
It's like the round table where all the knights are treated equally.
That's right. Yeah, very much on theme with
it's
Park
egalitarian.
One that came up that I appreciate came up was Rhythm and Riffs at Mandalay Bay, which I don't think gets enough attention if they have good live music going on at the time.
Do you know if they have the new machines yet?
That I don't, and that did not come up in responses here, but it came up at least a couple times. And I think every time I've been there, the bartenders have been fantastic. I don't think the cocktails have been great, but if they've got live music going on, it's just kind of a cool little spot. It's probably the best thing about the Mandalay Bay Casino at this point, which I think is a bit dreary right now.
Agree.
I would like to spend more time at some of the properties on that end of the strip, but I say that and then I never really want to. So I don't think I've stepped foot in Mandalay Bay, New York, Excalibur. Like I haven't stepped in MGM Grand, anything in years, decade, probably.
I think the only one of those casinos you just mentioned, and indeed on that anything south of Park, I think the only one that actually grabs me is Excalibur. I think that new center bar there is cool. I checked the pay tables on it. It's the same pay tables as like the Chandelier bar at every game, including the like one kind of diamond in the rough that they have, which is 8-5 bonus deluxe super times pay at quarters.
Yeah, it's exactly what that casino floor needed too. Like it was just like this weird empty space that they had nothing to do with. It kind of livened it up a little bit.
Yeah, so I've not played at that bar, but I would be very happy to.
So maybe we need to do a stop by down there on that south end.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is like Luxor. I like Luxor, but I don't find much entertaining about gambling there. There's not like a cool little spot that like kind of draws me in there. And even the same with Mandalay Bay, like Rhythm and Riffs I tend to like. I don't know if that would be in my A tier, Rhythm and Riffs. Same with like the Center Bar at Park, but there's potential there. One that came up quite a bit too was the Center Bar at New York, and their High Limit Bar as well. I have not been in their High Limit Bar, so I can't attest to that. But I thought it was interesting that at least 3 or 4 people said New York as an option.
I threw out Charlie's at Win
Mm-hmm.
because they do comp there, and you've got, like we talked about with Caesar Sportsbook Bar overlooking, and Charlie's has decent food at decent prices for a Win. So I enjoy that. I don't know. Again, it's the only place in the Win where you're getting comp drinks playing video poker.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
At least I think they're still comping it. At least the last time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind play if I'm gonna play bar top video poker. That's where I'm gonna play at the Win.
Yeah, and you can eat there, which is nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One that came up, the sports book bar. I don't know. Oh, the Tavern at Fontainebleau. That came up multiple times. Again, kind of the only bar top video poker in Fontainebleau. But I do like the
I
Tavern.
actually really liked that space. It's just not always open. So that's why it doesn't do it for me. Not because I didn't enjoy playing there or the ambiance. And the bartenders were great.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they knocked the menu cocktail drinks off their ability to comp it pretty early on. But I think the bartenders there are good enough that you can kind of just order what you'd like and they'll make you something that you like and they'll comp it.
Sure.
But it would be nice to have seen them stick to the comped menu drinks for people that are gambling.
Mm-hmm.
It always strikes me as a bit self-defeating that they can't just weed out the people that aren't playing at a level to get those drinks and instead have to just say that we don't offer them to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Because the like $21 menu cocktail doesn't cost them any more to produce or take them more time to make than any other $18 drink they do comp that's just as specific. So I think they're really losing out on an ability to differentiate themselves with that policy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If we go downtown, King's Bar at Four Queens came up quite a bit. Four Queens, just in general, was a really popular one. And no one mentioned the throne seat, but Four Queens was pretty popular.
I was going to say the King's Bar is the one that's notable for being right up against the entrance to the casino from Fremont Street, kind of the open air entrance.
Yeah.
And so you are live on Fremont Street when you're sitting and playing at that bar. And the throne seat that Adam mentioned specifically is the one, closest to Fremont Street on one end of the bar there.
Have either of you played at that bar? Or played in the throne seat, I should say.
I'm not sure I've played in the throne seat. I played at that bar back when they used to have a good double bonus pay tables. Like they had they had like 9-6 with a progressive or something like that.
And then Sand Dollar came up quite a bit, which I've not had the pleasure of playing it yet.
That's one of our must-dos for me and a group of my friends that'll be out the next time I'm in Vegas with, is we're going to be at the Sand Dollar for sure.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, that's some people probably would put it into kind of S tier.
I find one thing that I don't know if Jonathan Jossel himself mandated this, but I'm going to give him credit. One thing that bar does really well is it has different pay tables for different games, such that people in the know are going to find great games to play, and people that are not in the know might still just give the casino their money. And I thought about this because, like, a machine doesn't have to have every game on it be like a 99% game to get people like me, or even those, like you said, like the weird nerds that come out of the woodwork to be like, oh, I only play at the bars that have this pay table, right? Like, not every game has to be good to get those people to come play. You just have to have a good game there, and the rest can be ones that appeal to the general public and perhaps aren't as good of return. And I think it does a good job of straddling that line by making the 50-cent games have much better return than the quarter games that would be the more popular ones to play. And B, even at 50 cents, every game is 99% or better except double bonus. Because they know double is the one that people are going to be drawn to if they're not going to be anal about checking pay tables. And so I think that's just brilliant.
Yeah, and everything I've heard, I think their like live entertainment schedule's kind of not as full anymore, but everyone that I've talked to about it says they have great cocktails. The service there is great. So yeah, I think for a lot of people that's pretty high up there. But there's more to check out. There's a lot of really good recommendations here. It's really cool to see kind of the diverse list of people. There were some shockers, like I said, like New York is not one.
Yeah.
But I mean, many people said New York, which is really cool to see. There are, of course, like View Bar at the D, some interesting ones like Aria's sports bar and stuff like that. It's just kind of interesting to see what people kind of are drawn to. There's some where like I don't even like them, but it's kind of cool to see that other people take to them. Same with like Bar Luca. I'm like, I hate that place. I never want to gamble there again. Jack's like, no, it's kind of cool.
I was thinking about the same sort of concept earlier today, which is that a lot of people, myself included, let one bad experience turn them off of a particular hotel or casino or bar. Like there will be people that, like, what's my favorite place to stay? I don't know, Cosmopolitan, right? There will be people that'll be like, the one time I went to Cosmo, when I walked into the room, there was an employee shitting on my bed and they wouldn't compensate me for anything. When I went down to the front desk, they just said, that's Gary. You're going to have to get used to it. And I'm never going back. And it's just like, yeah, well, I can understand that. But on the other hand, like perhaps you do want to look at everyone else that says that it's fun or good.
That's my experience with Baccarat Bar at Bellagio, where it's like every time I want to play there, it's like a huge convention weekend. It's crowded. Like that's like the first big, like beyond Petrosian, that's like the first bar in the casino if you're walking to it from like the lobby and the registration area. So like the conventioneers just go there. They crowd this place. It's like, it's not fun. It's too loud. The bartenders are overwhelmed. I'm like, this place sucks. It's been like 2 or 3 times, but I've seen people like on this list be like, oh, I love Baccarat Bar. I'm like, I have to give it another chance because I'm just, I'm letting a couple bad experience just sully it for me.
So Adam, where can people find this list, right? So
x.com/BauerPower/status/1949988. Oh, we'll just link it in
Bauer
the show
Power,
notes.
that's your handle on the former Twitter?
BAUERPAUERHAUER. And it's fun having people not really understand that that's how I'm pronouncing it. It's not phonetic, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Nice.
And Table James Games, where can they find you?
So I am on X as well. I took a little time off from X, from Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter. Screw it. Just James_Tierney. Yeah, very creative. I'm a super creative guy when it comes to naming things.
And Boring Jack has not changed his name to Boring Jack on Twitter yet.
Oh, maybe I should. My handle is at Turbulence2, the word turbulence, then TOO. I don't know. I find Twitter to be very hard to use these days with just like blue check bots all up in the replies. But I think the Vegas Twitter is a exception to that, where you get a lot of thoughtful comments and a lot of good interaction. So I feel like I should probably spend more time on there, but it is highly annoying to do so at times. So,
well, as a prominent content creator, yes. So I'm not just, pulling this toboggan up the mountain by myself.
Prominent is a very strong word.
Yeah. But this was a fun, well, I would say it was a fun post. I made it, so it's a fun post. No, it was fun to see everyone's replies to it. So I think Jack, you can link to it in the show notes. I'd love to hear other people's, and I think we need to start slowly compiling our tier rankings,
actual tier list. Does anything else make it into the S? First of all, does Crystal Bar at Resorts World make it into the S tier? And does anything else? Find out next week on Handy at the Shandy.
It's not your turn to take us out. James has to take us out.
Yeah. I will say that the nascent count was 0 this week. So.
God, I even had a spot. I was going to bring it in. I forgot where that was. What the fuck?
All right, everyone. That was the second hour. That was episode 3. It was super fun hanging out with everyone. Make sure you follow us, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Later.
See ya. Thanks for listening.